Hi, Kat.
Hi, Tiffany.
So, you may not know this. You don't know this. Anyway, here we go.
Teach me.
Uh, yes, I'll teach you. According to a 2020 PLOS One study, if 16% of secondary or middle or high school students around the world in middle to high income countries studied climate change, it would result in cutting almost 19 gigatons of CO2 by 2050.
Whoa.
So, climate education was shown to potentially be a more effective way to reduce emissions than many other single solutions.
Wow.
Right? And why? Because educated youth would develop personal connections to climate change solutions and change their behaviors accordingly. So throughout their entire lives.
Interesting.
So it gives us a lot more time.
I mean, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it really shocked me. So today we're going to talk about young people's roles and the U.S. specific challenges of educating the next generation on climate.
Cool.
Welcome to Greening Up My Act. Alright, sweet. I always feel like I'm holding my breath when I have to do an intro. I don't know why.
Yeah. Let it go.
I'm so stressed.
Well, it is. This is. I should point out the last episode of season 6. So
It is,
Yeah.
indeed. And we've had, our sort of political activism for non-activists season, and it's been a whirlwind,
Yeah.
just like the world
Yes.
has been a whirlwind.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of feels weird to wrap it up because there's so much left to
No,
do.
for sure.
But we can't stay here forever.
no. Well, just apply what we've learned and move forward.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know if you wanted to talk about your little protest that you went
Oh yeah, I went to the hands-off protest. My dog just opened the door again to my. Sorry.
to. Ada.
She just opened it and walked away. She's like, lighters.
Of course.
Uh-huh.
That's what Ruby does all the time.
Yeah.
You're like, with Charlie's room and stuff, she's like,
Just wants it
peeking
open.
in.
Yeah, just want to see.
Yeah. She just wants access in case she needs it later.
Yeah, exactly. So I actually took Ada to the protest, and there were a lot of people. Something I noticed was it was a lot of older people, because to protests I've been to in the past, it's been kind of our age or younger.
Yeah.
And so this was interesting to see just people, retired people, There were a lot of people who brought their kids too,
Okay.
which was good, but not as many as I was kind of surprised at how, and I think I read in NPR, they said, yeah, it seemed a lot, the crowd skewed older, so, which I guess is a
Yeah.
good thing, but it's interesting to see.
It is a good thing. That actually makes me feel, that feels more promising for some
Well,
reason.
they're the people who vote, so
Yeah.
if they're paying attention, that's good.
Right. And it's easier to, I'm actually going to talk about that a little bit tonight, but it's easier to mobilize young people to actually go to these things. So the fact that older people are feeling mobilized is good.
Yeah, it's an interesting sign. And yeah, so we'll see how
Yeah.
it plays out.
Yeah, to be honest, I was kind of bummed because I didn't even hear about it.
I know, it was interesting to me that a lot of my kind of really active friends here hadn't heard about it either.
Yeah, so I don't know why that is. It's so funny. I was also like pretty distracted with family
stuff
health
going
issues.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a family member in the hospital, but like, I don't know. I was just sort of like, wait, what?
Yeah.
How did you hear about it? Social media?
Facebook, I think. Or, well, Sean heard about it on something, and he doesn't use social media, so he knew about it. I think it was in the news,
Okay.
I wonder about that. I wonder about, I don't know. There's some conspiracies about, sorry, I'm like kicking my screen here, but, social media kind of has been, for various reasons, dampening political.
Yeah, like not the place to find your information. Yeah.
And some of it's because people have been unsubscribing from stuff, which I get too,
Right.
because it's overwhelming. So
Yeah.
there's that. But
Interesting.
yeah, I don't know. And
I just
yeah,
well, I was just gonna say I just got back on Substack, kind of for
yeah,
that reason.
yeah, me too. It seems less,
Monitored.
yeah, less picked through, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to say censored, but
Yeah.
there's still an algorithm. I mean, I'm only subscribed to like 3 or 4 things, and I get a lot of stuff fed into my, based on.
Right.
So
There is. Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
yeah,
I don't know. Also, I've heard people. I don't think most people followed this, but some people were like, when you post pictures of other people in protests, you shouldn't show their faces.
yeah. I just tried to get kind of the backs of people's heads and big groups. Yeah, so it's not
Yeah.
like individuals being seen. Yeah, because
Yeah. Which is scary.
yeah,
but
it's scary to think about.
yeah. Yeah. So the vibe there, though, was like positive, upbeat.
Yeah, we couldn't hear anything that the speakers were saying.
Ah, okay.
But I feel like it's kind of like there's like a protest every weekend. So it's kind of overwhelming in that sense too. And we didn't stay the whole time.
Yeah.
But I read Anne Lamott, who is an author that I really appreciate, posted that why she was going. And I this was something that I thought about, was that we're very siloed, Americans are right now. Like,
Yeah.
and we stay home a lot more than we used to.
Yep.
I mean, since the pandemic, even though we don't have lockdowns anymore, people just don't leave. We don't go to the movies. We don't go out. We don't, so we've forgotten that we're social creatures and we need to commune with people, especially during times of stress. And just to know that there are other people in society who feel like you do and are going through similar emotions and stuff is really helpful and empowering.
That's a big comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that felt.
That's She Wrote Bird by Bird.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that book.
Yeah. So I thought
Yeah.
she was like, it's just to go, and it's like, even if it doesn't feel like it actually does anything, it does to our psyches, to our, communal feeling. And it's really important right now to have that. So
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because this season we're like, when we started, we're like, this is the season for people who are scared of protests or whatever, but I feel like it's come to a point where we kind of have to get over that.
Yeah. And
I saw somebody's
go ahead.
Well, somebody's sign said it's so bad even the introverts are out
Yes,
here.
there were a lot of those. A lot of people said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's, another part of it is like, protest, the government might not take it seriously and it might not do very much, but it does give you an opportunity to reconnect with your community in a way that is meaningful, and that's enough. And
and it can grow.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people are like, whoa, shit, if all these people are out here, then it's like a lot of people are probably afraid. I know people who are afraid of protesting.
Yeah.
But they're like, well, you're way more anonymous if you're not.
Yeah, if you're in a crowd.
If there are so many of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing too. Oh, another aspect also of it being older people was that I was concerned because of how the protests went during the pandemic. There was this got kind of violent, especially in Texas.
Yeah.
People with guns, and it wasn't that way. Like I told Sean, I was like, we need to have an exit plan. We need to have, and like we didn't. It was fine. They say things like, oh, don't take your phone. But it was fine. Nobody got arrested.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything rowdy. There wasn't a violent outbreak. There weren't counter protesters. So
Right.
that I could
yeah.
see.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of less scary too, which is good.
Yeah. Yep. Totally.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, good on you.
Thanks.
I wish I'd known, although I don't know if I could have managed it because I had Charlie by myself. I mean, I could have probably. I didn't see that many pictures of the DC one, to be honest. But
A lot of my friends
I'm
in
sure it was
DC
there.
went, and it was big. It was huge.
okay.
Yeah. Sean was like, this wasn't a lot of people. And I'm like, there was a lot of stuff going on in Austin this weekend. Like, a lot of the parents I know took their kids to a kite fest, and, so it wasn't
okay.
like this was the
Yeah.
only thing happening in Austin this weekend, so I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was huge in Portland and huge in DC, and
Okay. And
so
New York was pretty
yeah,
big.
New York was big too. Yeah. So I'm sorry if you can
Yeah.
hear my roommate and my boyfriend having a
No,
conversation.
it's fine.
we,
all good.
we live in a communal house here, so
Shut up. Yeah. No, it's good. Communal is good.
yeah,
That's what we need.
yeah,
Um, so I will talk about my sources real quick.
cool.
First off, the Nature Conservancy. I use them quite a bit. And then I use Pew Research Center because they are really good at having studies and surveys and such. And Columbia University. And those are actually my 3 sources.
Oh, that's
So-
great. This will be a
Right?
yeah.
I don't know if I've ever done that.
Yeah.
Have I ever had
Concise.
only 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we can start off with young people's. I wanted to talk about like young people's relationship to climate change because I think it's pretty different than older people's relationship to climate change, and in a lot of what I was reading, millennials and Gen Zers are sort of lumped together as the younger people.
Okay, that's fun.
And at this point, I'm like, I don't know if that really works, but that's fine. I guess we are
we're
technically
not
young
boomers, so
still.
we're young, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like if you're Gen Z, but yeah, it's hard because there are so many people on the cusp. So anyway, probably under 40, I guess, is what I don't know.
So yeah,
I don't
I'm a
know.
millennial and I'll be 43. So
Right.
It's
Yeah,
like-
exactly.
I don't feel like I'm technically young, but yeah, I feel like
Right. I don't really feel like I'm young either.
It's like
So anyway.
18 to 34 or something is like, yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of these, and they were pretty newer sources, so they did include millennials as a category. So, but for me, having a kid has made all of this especially poignant because I feel grief that my daughter may not experience seasons the same way that I did
Right.
while I was growing up.
I
And that
yeah.
consistency and that predictability of just like the fall air, okay, there's a change coming and I can know what that change is going to be.
Yeah. Or
And that probably won't be her life.
fireflies, I think about that. They were a big part of my childhood when we moved back east or like when we visited Texas, and now it's like they're not out anymore. It's too hot for them.
That's insane to me
Yeah.
because we still have so many here, but
It's too hot in Texas.
that's so sad.
Yeah. It's a big loss, and it's just something like fireflies weren't even, it's not like, they didn't have a huge part in my upbringing, but it was just a whimsical part of
Yeah.
my youth, that I don't know. Yeah, bird migrations too, there's fewer birds now, so you experience the outdoors differently, even around
Right.
your own house. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I will say I have absolute hordes of cardinals
Yeah.
currently, so I
Well,
don't get that.
yeah.
But it is kind of interesting because it's like so many cardinals, and then I'm like, where are the other birds?
Yeah.
Like we had one woodpecker come, and I was like, oh my
Oh,
god!
I know. But I think about that, like when I was younger, there were more birds.
Yeah,
Different
and like the
birds.
sound.
Yeah.
It sounds differently because of that. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody told me that as a species we evolved to listen for birdsong because it indicated there weren't predators around.
Yeah, I
it's-
think you mentioned that.
Yeah, it's soothing
on the
to us.
podcast.
Yeah, I think I did.
Yeah.
But that's something
I think about that all the time, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that you could miss, as a child. That it's like
I
ingrained in
know.
us from thousands and thousands of years, and just not to have that anymore,
Yeah. That's why I have 4 bird feeders. I've really like ramped them up
Yeah.
very rapidly. I went from 1 last year to now I have 4. I don't think I have plans for any more, but probably that will happen. So it's all different kinds. I have like a finch feeder, a regular seed feeder, a hummingbird feeder that will go up soon, and a suet feeder. I just got that today.
That's fun.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad has all of those too. Yeah.
Yeah. I am the crazy bird lady now, and turning Charlie into one too.
Perfect.
So good.
Good. I mean, yeah.
I love it so much. Yeah. So the Nature Conservancy kind of sums it up by saying climate era youth are growing up in an unprecedented time when wildfires and poor air quality cancel extracurricular activities, and extreme storms and flooding damage school campuses and nearby communities. And the American Psychological Association did a study, and it says that there are impacts to, obviously, but like impacts to mental health and well-being, like trauma, PTSD, increased risk of anxiety, depression, interpersonal aggression.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
It makes sense. Yeah, and I had never considered it. They're like, oh, you know what? The reason kids are violent is video games. It's not. It's not. It's other.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been proven not to be true.
Yeah.
And then cognitive function impairment. So basically, I guess that means that's probably, is that like a fancy way of saying that you can't think as well?
Yes. You have difficulty learning.
Clearly?
Yeah. Or retaining information. Yeah.
Yeah. And like the young are going to inherit whatever earth we leave them with. So, you know, that's probably why in a lot of ways they are actually leading the charge. And I say they because I'm not putting myself in the young category. I'm 36. That just feels like weird. But I did attend what was it? The Million Climate March or whatever it was called, like in 2000. I don't know. It was like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little less than 10. And yeah, I just did that on a whim because I didn't have kids. I barely had a job, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, let's go to New York. So, yeah, I think it's just easier, but
it's part of it.
Yeah. So today I wanted to look at like what are young people's attitudes toward climate change. First off, they care more. They talk more about the need for action. They're seeing more climate change content online, so they're just more exposed to it. And they're doing more to get involved with the issues, like volunteering, attending rallies or protests. Although, well, this wasn't climate related, these most recent protests, but they're more likely to donate money. They're more likely to contact elected officials, which is actually really surprising.
Yeah, I thought because
if you think about it,
yeah, it's like it skipped a generation of the millennials. Because like boomers call all the time, but now it's younger people.
Yeah. And yeah, they're more likely to volunteer, all of these things. So,
one study that I read about Gen Z was they're more likely to hold corporations accountable. And that's also, they want to buy from companies that align with their beliefs, you know, and so have a sustainability page and like a pledge, but also prefer to work for companies that align with their social beliefs, including climate action. So that's a part of the economic force that young people drive as well.
Yeah, totally. And that was one route that I could have taken with this episode is like, a lot of young people I think I mentioned this in my Citizens United episode, maybe, but that young people are suing basically for damage to their home. Yeah. You know, their earth.
Their environment.
And and I considered taking that route because it's so cool. But I think it's still so up in the air right now. Yeah. That it's kind of like, I want to wait and see. But we can always talk about it in a future episode because it's really cool. So I previously had mentioned in our climate polarization episode that I talked about young Republicans and how it's kind of surprising how like almost half of Gen Z and millennial Republicans or Republican leaners, so people who just sort of lean that way, say that action to reduce the effects of climate change need to be prioritized now.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And that's awesome. And they say that even if that means there are fewer resources for other things.
Oh, wow.
That we need to deal with it today. young Democrats are more open to breaking completely with fossil fuels than older Democrats. So it's actually like surprising how few. It's maybe like a third of people in general from all parties that think we should break entirely from fossil fuels.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's very few, and that's probably due to oil lobbying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really,
yeah.
at the end of the day. But it's funny because, like, I just put this note here that I've been getting so many comments from people on my EV lately, and from people who I wouldn't expect to be interested in it. It seems like they kind of like cars, maybe. I don't know. But like a guy today at the hardware store, I've been going to my like local hardware store. It's so good and so wholesome. That's where I got my suet feeder from. And yeah, he stopped me in the parking lot. And he's like, "Hey, is that EV?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's an EV." And he said, "Oh man, my dad is so obsessed with Fords, and he swears to me that that is not an EV." And it's like the Ford Mustang. It's not really a Mustang, but
Yeah.
and he's like, he is 83 years old though, so he's kind of behind the times. And I was like, it just coming from him, I'm like, I love that is where the direction is going, that like being anti-EV is behind the times.
Yeah.
Because it has to be, and it is. But, there's a long way to go. But, yeah, I just thought, I don't even know where I was going with that. It was just like a kind of a
You weren't
story.
but you weren't expecting that. Yeah.
Yeah, and the guy kind of seemed like, if I'm stereotyping somebody who may have voted for Trump, he probably didn't, but yeah, anyway, he wasn't wearing like a MAGA hat.
Yeah.
So we can take a break and then get into some sort of depressing stuff, and then we'll end on a more positive
Okay,
note.
I like that direction. I like the
yes,
ending on a
because we're going to talk about like where we are today in terms of climate education, and it's not good.
Okay. Ooh.
It's not good. So let's take a quick break.
Sounds
and
good.
We'll get into it. All right. So, on to the depression. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so this is kind of why I took this path, because it's like young people are new to this world and they need to be educated, and our education system, according to Radhika Iyengar, I'm going to say that wrong. She's a director of the education sector at Columbia Climate School Center for Sustainable Development. She said the education system is failing the students when it comes to climate change or climate education in the formal curriculum. Great.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'm
So,
kind of not surprised, actually, but okay, yeah.
I know. She says we really need to pick up this speed, because otherwise we will have a whole generation of students who will graduate with this climate anxiety and will not know what to do because they've not been prepared by our education
Right.
systems.
If they're only educated by YouTube, they're not.
Yeah.
This is not how we want it to go, for sure. Yeah.
Right. And not to mention, I think most of us, some Republicans, but also mostly Democrats, are realizing that, our rhetoric and our focus has not been on action for the past.
Right.
God
It's
knows how long.
just the effects, right?
Yes.
Like it's more, like, oh, well, we're losing so many creatures, or and not what can we do about it. And I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. And it's like, good Lord, I think people politically are finally like, what's the solution here? Like, we need like action, and we need to like do shit about it. So we need that same momentum toward climate change, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you're not taught, you're just how.
Yeah, here's a problem with no
horrifying.
solution. Good luck. Yeah. Go out in the world and feel bad about it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So currently in the United States, most schools do cover climate change. It's about 75% of them will cover it, but it might be for 1 to 2 hours per year.
Wow. I'm thinking back on when I learned about it. I do specifically remember a segment like first grade or something. I remember at the library we watched a video about it, about like acid rain, and we read about that and we saw a video of like, oh, the solution is, turn off lights and take shorter showers, like.
Right.
But I can't remember. I know I must have had some formal education about it in high school, but I can't remember it.
Yeah, but I feel like even acid rain was one of those things that was like, well, it wasn't politically charged.
No.
It was like, here's a thing
that exists
that we can solve.
Yeah.
Right,
right. I don't think acid rain is.
Yeah.
And the same with the ozone layer,
ozone.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We banned CFCs and now it's not a problem. It's come back. That's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will say for me, I think the only time I learned about climate change, and I may be forgetting some things, but I don't think I am, was because I had an AP environmental science class.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was lucky because I was in a pretty small school, and I don't know, it probably was my teacher was amazing, and he was probably the reason we even had that course available.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like he probably pushed for it, but so many schools don't.
Well,
we'll get into that. They don't have those teachers. So.
Well, yeah. And also, like, if you didn't do a science track, like, I didn't take AP science classes because I was focused on languages and English, And I thought about that, like, I remember a couple years ago thinking about how, I studied linguistics. And so that lends itself very well to, when you're studying cross-cultural communication, you talk about racism and you talk about, female versus male or, feminism and things that my sister who studied, engineering didn't get access to those same discussions. It's just not brought up. And so the same is true about if you don't study science, it's not integrated into your coursework in other areas, which makes sense. Yeah. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. And there are some schools who are doing a really good job at this, so we're going to get there. But I don't know why I took AP Environmental Science.
Yeah, I'm kind of like that.
I was
yeah.
No, I didn't do a science. I wasn't like focused on science. I feel like I had to do one. I don't know. I feel like it was required.
Yeah.
Because I didn't do AP chemistry, actually. I just did regular chemistry, and it sucked.
Yeah, chemistry was the hardest one for me. I couldn't get it.
Yeah. And then I was so bad at it.
Yeah, I know. I was like, this doesn't make sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. There was something about it that I feel like was required because I'm not sure I would have signed up for that on my own.
Maybe you could get college credit for it, too.
I did. Yeah. So maybe that was it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or, I mean, I was really interested in it, so maybe there was that. I don't remember at this point, but yeah, other than that, I mean, yeah, kids at my school were still debating evolution.
I know.
Like, they had whole classes on evolution versus creationism.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Probably not going to get into climate science if you're just trying to decide if Darwin had an idea of what he was talking about.
Right. Yeah, it was a place. Rural Indiana, but I mean, I had a really awesome AP science or AP environmental science teacher, so you just never know. So why is this, sort of in broad strokes? Why do schools cover this for like 1 to 2 hours per year? Mm-hmm. Number one, politics. Yeah. That's clear. Right. We talked about that with the climate polarization episode. If you haven't listened to that, I did it. I think it was pretty good. I don't want to
I thought it was great.
Pat myself on the back.
Thought I was like, oh, you opened my eyes a lot. So yes, that was a great episode.
Yeah. No, I was so pumped about that research. I was just like, I have to talk about that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Number two, lack of mandatory national science standards. So each state determines what its schools teach, and this obviously can vary greatly. So the only standards that we do have are voluntary. So they're not mandated. States can just willy-nilly do what they want.
Interesting.
You're not going to be surprised about this, but it is a little depressing. Alabama, Georgia, Pennsylvania I'm surprised about. South Carolina, Texas, and Virginia. Virginia also I'm kind of surprised about. Received Fs in terms of climate education.
Yeah.
Fs. Like, Virginia has so many people, and like Northern Virginia, like, can't that outweigh it? I don't know. Anyway, in Pennsylvania, I mean, there's like Philadelphia, Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's crazy out there. But New Jersey and Connecticut are leading the charge in terms of like doing it really, really, really well.
Interesting. Yeah.
New Jersey actually mandates that schools teach climate change in all subjects starting in kindergarten.
Wow. Okay. Okay, there we go.
Isn't that amazing?
Social studies, English. Yeah, that's integrated into the coursework. That's huge. Yeah.
Yes, it's so huge. And I'm like, it's so funny because I feel like people shit on New Jersey all the time. It's just like what the thing to do, right? But I think I read that people are happiest in New Jersey. It's like the happiest state. They're just like killing it in a lot of ways. Yeah. So let's not shit on them too much. We're all just jealous.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is.
And then number 3, so the third reason why our climate education is so bad in this country is textbooks. So publishers intentionally use ambiguous language to avoid controversy.
Right.
And to make sure that their books get approved by the boards of education.
And a wide swath of them. So
yes.
It's not just New Jersey who has this textbook. It's used, yeah. It's a seller's game. You got to be able to sell it to Texas. Yeah, that makes sense. Sadly,
yes. So in the 1990s, solutions to climate change were actually like 15% of the climate content within these textbooks.
Okay.
But that actually fell in the 2010s to 3%.
Oh.
So it went from like 15% talking about solutions to 3%. So like that's just like not even.
Wow.
Because guess what the solutions are?
Yeah. Quit using gas. Yeah.
Exactly. So leads into my next point, because that oil and gas companies actually create their own teaching materials and provide them directly to children, because it's part of that like billion dollar package of advertising to throw doubt on climate change.
Yeah.
Some of it is aimed at children.
Jeez.
So in one Arkansas classroom, a visiting oil and gas industry representative from Arkansas Energy Rocks.
Okay. I mean, that's like the Joe Camel of, like...
100%. They told students about problems with renewable energy.
Of course.
How access to reliable electricity could be a matter of life and death. I don't know how they framed it that way.
Well,
but
it is in
whatever,
Texas.
Freeze to death.
Yeah, you can.
I don't know.
Heat stroke here, but yeah.
Right. And that if the United States shut down all fossil fuel use tomorrow, it would make a minuscule dent in global warming.
Okay.
That's what they told these kids.
Interesting. I wonder how they back that up with numbers, but okay.
Yeah. So Arkansas Energy Rocks provides classroom speakers, K through 12 lessons, and free summer workshops for teachers.
No.
Great. Cool. So that's a huge part of it. The other one is just general lack of teacher training. So that's number 4. Fourth reason. Many teachers feel unempowered because they don't feel like they have the appropriate training or materials to teach it. They don't feel like they have the knowledge to teach it. But there are some really cool trainings through a couple of actually quite a few different organizations are trying to solve for this, but NASA's one of them. They have a climate change research initiative, and one leader who sort of like runs that program said that the teachers that come through this program end up being very substantial ambassadors for us going forward. Cool. Yeah. They've only done like 160 as at the time of writing, from what 160 teachers.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything
better than 0.
Well, but does it still exist as a program?
Well, fuck
after?
yeah.
Yeah.
Probably not. Damn it. But, all right, well, if Columbia is separate, I guess. There's still federal funding, whatever. Who knows? But Columbia Climate School, they have free webinars that are available to teachers, kids, the public, whoever.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
they have quite a few that seem really cool. So, yeah, it's like a pretty grim. And the other thing, I actually had this at the end, but it is kind of interesting because I think I mentioned this. I went to my local county's sustainability. It was supposed to be a breakfast, but it ended up being virtual meeting, whatever, and with our council people. And one of the people that was leading the meeting brought up that our county, compared to all the other counties around us, has like very few climate change, sustainability, whatever, educators in our school system. And she was like, if anybody wants to help, let me know. And, I kind of logged that in the back of my head, and I was like, that's really interesting because Charlie's going to be in school soon. And, for God's sake, like, we live in a pretty rich area. And, that doesn't mean I'm rich, but just squeezed in there. But like really good school system, which sadly the two correlate. So the fact that we don't really have that is kind of telling, right?
Yeah, that is.
So
wow, okay.
It's a little scary, but that doesn't mean that I can't like put on my fighting hat and be like, hey,
yeah,
guys. So I think I have a recording of that talk, actually, because I want to see what her name was, the woman who brought it up, because I have no freaking clue. But maybe I can contact her. And
yeah,
be like,
that'd be great.
You still need help? Right? She'll be like, yes, I still need help. My God.
Yeah.
Help me.
Oh my God, help. Yeah. Especially since you can write. I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I have skills. So I wanted to highlight a couple of kids that are being awesome anyway, because there are lots and lots and lots of these examples. So in Salt Lake City, two kids named Andy Madsen and Mahidar Tedesi pushed their school board to develop a sustainability action plan for their district.
Oh, cool.
Their goals were to get the district to use 100% clean renewable energy by 2030 and become carbon neutral by 2040. So that's pretty cool because they're like high school students.
Yeah.
And actually, that was more like district-wide, but schools are a pretty big user of energy in our country.
Yeah.
And I was kind of surprised by the stats. I didn't write them down, but I was like, oh shit, like if you just start at your schools, then that can help. That can actually make a pretty big impact.
Yeah.
So these kids are like helping their schools be better is worth
That's
it
awesome.
for sure.
Yeah.
And then students in Brooklyn helped design a turf field to absorb stormwater, plant trees, and use porous concrete and pavement. And they also introduced green infrastructure elements that can capture up to an inch of rainwater during storms.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that can amount to over 1 million gallons per year, which is kind of crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
Right?
Especially if you have like a football field,
Yes. Yeah. And so the trees also give shade and improve air quality, et cetera, et cetera. But, yeah, that was how many that was like a small group of students in Brooklyn. So cool stuff. A student in Indiana arranged a climate strike. I'm not sure. I couldn't figure out what that meant, but I was like, cool. And brought AP environmental science classes to his school curriculum. So he was out there, fighting the good fight because he knows that, like, I really do think me taking that class impacted my entire life. Like, I just wouldn't know a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Because I actually remember my teacher standing there talking about climate change in like very real, scary terms. And to be honest, I'm not even sure that was on the curriculum. But he did it anyway, because he did that with a lot of stuff. But yeah, he yeah, I would have just had no clue if it wasn't for that class. So, so yeah, I skipped around,
That's
but
fine.
that's it.
No, that's great.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it for me. So yeah, I mean, it was really eye-opening for me, actually, how bad it is in our country in terms of education and how much it matters.
Yeah.
'Cause
That's so impactful that it, like, you can measure how much of an impact it would have on climate change itself,
Yes.
just to learn about it. That's,
Yeah. And then it's like one of the more impactful solutions.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense, but it's also like we want, numbers, and well, I mean, they do have numbers, but like we want sort of immediate, impact. We want all these things, but like that's over the people's lifespans. And that just is cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
It makes me hopeful. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, we've talked about that before. Was it 21 Jump Street where they went back to high school? Was it 21 Jump Street where like the cops went back to high school?
Yeah, that's 21 Jump Street.
High school kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they made this joke about climate change. I think we talked about this.
I don't remember this. No.
Okay. Like the older guys who were pretending to be high school students like made some joke about the earth or something, and the kid, I'm butchering this, it was so funny, but he's like, they were all like yucking it up, and then the kid's like, that's not very funny, man. The earth is like the earth is warming at a serious rate, and blah 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 blah. And it was just like, oh wow, yeah, that feels real.
Yeah.
Like a real high schooler would be like, wait, that's not cool.
Yeah. It's not funny, actually.
This is like fucking real.
Yeah.
Actually,
it's actually affecting us. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of fun to research. Like,
yeah,
kids are cool, and
and you've got one, so like you could have a real impact on what she learns. That's big.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm really serious about like pushing my board to do better. So, because it's specifically my county that's like worse than the other counties. So,
I wonder about
that's not okay.
How much. I mean, because one of the big arguments about education is, well, the parents have to educate kids at home, right? Like, they don't learn this from school, which is, you spend 8 hours at school every day. You learn it from school. But those resources you were talking about, NASA had, like, webinars and stuff that, if you teach your kids at home, then they take it to school with them, too. So that's another initiative that we could consider is, the school should be doing this, but if they're not, parents can be responsible too.
I totally plan to. I mean, I'm just gonna supplement it, it's like can't hurt. Because you think about how many presentations kids do, how many school like projects.
I did the science fair every year. Yeah,
exactly. So they're always semi-listening to each other.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I think that, like they said, whoever it was said it's really important because then they're personally involved.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the key is, like, making human beings, but kids especially, get them while they're young, personally invested in.
Yeah. And empowered, again, to focus on solutions rather than just the problem.
Yes.
And that gives them agency against this anxiety that we all experience when we think about these things. So that's huge.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So we can fight this.
I love it.
Yeah. So this is our last episode of the season.
Yeah.
What season is this?
6.
That's insane.
It's been 2 years this last month.
Whoa.
We've been doing this for 2 years, yeah.
I was thinking that we should have. Do you know the date? Because I don't.
March.
We need like a birthday.
Yeah.
We need to figure out what our birthday was.
I'll look it up. It was March something, 5th or something.
Okay. So that was March 2023.
Mm-hmm.
3. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. It's amazing. And
yeah. So what's our next season about? Do you want me to explain it? You can.
joy.
Yay!
Yeah, this is Tiffany's idea, and I completely agree. So, well, you explain. It's your idea.
No, you.
Well,
do
okay.
it.
So
I'll jump in.
we're gonna kind of do every week talk about something that brings us joy in terms of, you know, the earth or nature or climate or a product or service that we found that we've discussed on here that we use still, and like kind of a report on how it's going and how we feel about it. And, you know, I've already got one in mind, I think. So I think it'll be a much more uplifting, again, solutions oriented too, to kind, you know, dispel anxiety. Because I think, you know, this was a good season because it came exactly when it needed to. Like the things that we learned this season about like 5calls.org and, you know, all those things are very important just to feel empowered in, you know, a climate that not a political climate that is also making us feel worse about climate change itself. So, but I think focusing on joy will be really helpful too and necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't mean joy. That I think that was the one reason I was hesitant is like I saw some meme about like, you know, these white ladies out here being like, just feel joy in this, you know, this moment.
It's
and
Starbucks.
It's like, okay, yes, I get that.
Yeah.
Like,
no, it's
not at all what.
No, and just.
But at the same time, it is important.
Yeah, and to focus on something positive.
Yes.
Whether that's a solution or like, yeah, even something like your birds bring you joy. That's important. That matters.
I think I will be talking about my bird viewers.
And we're not talking about toxic positivity or
yes, exactly.
What was it called? Not gaslighting, but good lighting or whatever. Or optimist. You know, we're not trying to wash over serious issues with like, oh, my Starbucks venti latte today made me so happy. But, you know, there are things that we do as conscious people that, like your EV maybe, or, you know, my Ridwell subscription, you know.
Yes.
So we'll be going over those and kind of doing some updates, but also like reminding that there are things to be happy about, you know.
Yeah. Somewhere in that season, we should totally do an episode on like things that have just totally bombed.
Yeah.
Like stuff that we really thought
like
was
hilariously
stick around, and then it just like.
I think our most watched episode on YouTube are the failures. So we all know we're talking about DIY dishwasher detergent. Okay, we all know that's the big bomb that we talk about. So yeah, we could go back to that.
Yeah, or even stuff that we're like, yeah, this is awesome, I love it,
and we don't use it at all. Yeah,
and then we just I know exactly what I would talk about, but anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm interested. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be kind of fun.
A week of hilarious failures.
Yeah, like what's really happened in the follow-up. So, just sort of real life stuff. Yeah. So, yeah, I want to talk about like birds. I want to talk about gardening, ripping out the joy and the rage that it fills me with to rip out honeysuckle. I think I'll do an episode on like invasive stuff because that's just, I'm obsessed now.
Yeah.
It's an absolute obsession.
I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. There was another really quick one that I was thinking of, but I can't think of what it was.
Well.
Community garden.
Yes.
I joined
there you
one.
go. Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. I'm trying to be part of my community.
Yeah.
You said you started biking again too.
I'm planning on it. I haven't yet. It got it dropped down to 45 degrees this morning, and so
never mind.
Yeah. I was like, what the hell?
No. Yeah, that is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually perfect biking weather in Texas because it's going to be 107 next week. But yeah, I plan on.
Well, that's true.
And you know, we walk everywhere, but I'd like to start just biking too. So
yeah, I want to bike for fun.
Yeah,
that's kind of my option around here. So
yeah,
maybe you'll inspire me.
Cool. So that's May 6th.
Cool.
We'll be back with our first episode of season 7.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wild.
Yeah, and also I think people really need just sort of a break.
Yeah.
These days, because you can only dwell in this shit for so many hours a
So
day
much
before you're like
escapism.
gonna lose your mind.
Yeah, we need escapism so much. I know I do.
Yes.
So.
And we are happy to provide it.
Yep. No judgment.
can.
We will enable you
Yeah.
in your escaping.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Cool.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to my rambling. No.
Thanks to all of our listeners. Interact with us on Instagram. We're at Greening Up My Act, and we love to hear from you. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Thanks for being with us.
No. Ah, shit. I don't know. I didn't prepare anything.
Yeah, tell us about your joy. We'll see. We'll have a discussion.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Awesome.
That's a good
All right. I'll see you in a couple weeks.